Because Steve Cortes, Donald Trump wasn't necessarily a fan of Janet Yellen's on the campaign trail. And if you couple that, what he said about her in the past, with the fact that she's not necessarily doing him any favors here by raising rates right now, he might really be looking to replace her. What are your thoughts on that? Could Gary Cohn be in the mix? Any other names that you can think of?
You know, I think potentially, I'd love to see somebody like Cohn, somebody from outside of academia, enough of the MIT economists, because they've created a world, by the way, that's been very harmful to regular working Americans, and they've created, in a sense, ironically, Donald Trump should appreciate Janet Yellen, because I think she created the kind of economy that led to his election, and that's an economy that only rewards the owners of assets, which is a very small slice of people, to the detriment of the masses of working Americans who don't have growing wages. Now, that said, how do we break out of that cycle? I'm very glad that we're starting to normalize rates, albeit slowly, but what we really need, it's not a central bank issue, it's a fiscal side issue. We need tax cuts, and we need them yesterday, and we need even more regulatory relief. If we get that, I think this economy can truly break out then.
You know, I'm hearing a theme here. And by the way, let me point out that I hear this theme on both sides of the aisle, okay? So it's not as though this is, and Steve, full disclosure here, you were on Trump's team, on his Hispanic Advisory Council, so we know politically where you stand. Right. That said, I'm pointing out something that I think is bipartisan, in that people want to see tax relief and tax reform. And it's crazy to think, Adam Johnson, you're going to let $2 trillion sit overseas working for other countries instead of bringing that money back here and getting people back to work and opening new factories and investing in new research that could help our country grow.
Of course they are going to bring that money back, and of course they are going to pass some sort of tax reform. If for no other reason than the GOP wants to get reelected, they have to pass tax reform.
You're very confident about that.
Confident,
I mean, you think
as is the market. That's one of the reasons why we're up. We're going to get a 12 to 15% bump in earnings. We're not going to get it this year because Washington's so dysfunctional right now. It's going to take them an extra year, but the market's okay with that.
But you think it's going to happen before 18?
Yes.
Before 18. Is that Jay? Go ahead.
Trish, you know, Steve, no, to that point, not only do I think it's going to happen, and it sounds like Adam does, but more importantly, key sectors of the market think it's going to happen. And I think the market's generally smarter than any of us as individuals. I would point to one stock in particular today, which is Boeing. I think Boeing is, in many ways, almost a Trump stock. It's at all-time highs. It's soaring today. It has absolutely soared since the election, up, I think, about 30% since he was elected. It's a combination of defense and infrastructure, airports, investment. So I think Boeing certainly believes that all of this is still going to happen. I believe Boeing, and if that's true, what's going to be good for Boeing will also be very good for America and good for workers.
Go ahead.
This is a tough conversation because the market's doing really well because they benefit from lowest interest rate environment and their earnings are worth more, but it's not translating to the consumer. It's not translating to the real economy. 70% of our economy is services, and it's struggling right now. So yeah, the S&P 500 is doing so well, but they want the status quo. They could care less if tax cuts happen, but Trish brought it up. It is a bipartisan issue. If you look, Obama had in his budget this year business taxes going down. That'll help small businesses. Same with Hillary Clinton. It was part of her plan. So we need to get this done. It just doesn't seem like it's a priority to get done this year.
All right.
They're focusing on everything else, including health care, which they should just do tax cuts.
Let me